for Collision or Battle of BC or anything. Like I feel like I don't know. I've mostly been like focused on my work the past month, and now that that's not really like a thing. I think it's like a weird thing where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go all in on melee, but it feels like not enough time to do that almost. So yeah, I'm playing every day right now, and that's good, but I don't feel like particularly strong in one matchup, and that's like a little concerning. At the same time, I'm like, all I want to do is consistently win the local. I feel like I'm only losing to 2 players right now, for the most part. I've gotten like a single loss here and there, but it's never really been like a consistent thing. Like I'm consistently losing or going even with Faust and MG, and that sucks. But every set I'm losing right now is like game 5 last stock, so that's like a good sign, I think.
I think that you're way stronger than you were previously, personally, but that's just me.
I mean, I feel like my knowledge is, but I think my tournament play, like, I don't know, and it's like a weird thing too, because it's like I've been barely playing ranked on Slippy, but like I have been the past couple of days, and like I didn't even know, and I'm like, oh, I got like top 50 today, and like that feels weird because I think top 50 used to be like a big deal for me, and now it's like, oh, whatever. You know.
What's your code?
But
what's your code? I want to see where you are. Actually, wait, you should just be on the leaderboard, right?
Yeah, I should be.
Okay, cool. So let me take a look. Leaderboard. And then I'm looking probably for like Marth Vader or something.
Yeah. It's probably like 40 something. Yeah, 43 right now.
There you are.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. And I'm like, okay, that's fun. And like I used to be able to get like top 50 if I grind for it, but this was like a very like, okay, like if whatever, I'll play it. Yeah. And that could be like the fact that I'm not playing on at night when like all the sweats are on kind of thing, and I'm mostly just playing in the day right now while I'm streaming. But even still, like I feel like there's like some matchups or like things where I'm not clicking, like, and I think I'll be okay for that for the most part. Like I've been talking with Justice, the Fox player, quite a bit. We've been playing a lot of doubles and just Marth versus Fox here and there, and I'm feeling better about that matchup. And he's like, I would say me and Justice are like pretty comparable like skill levels. So like when I talk to him, like a lot of things just kind of click and make sense, even if they don't. Like I can tell that he gets what I'm talking about, even if we're not like making something productive out of it, which is good.
Okay.
But I think otherwise than Fox, the only things I'm losing to are things I deem like gimmicky. Like I lost to a Donkey Kong at a regional, and that same Donkey Kong on ranked like earlier this week, and I'm like, I don't know this matchup right now. Like fuck you, I'll come back to you later. I run into a Pikachu and I'm like 50-50 if I'm gonna win it, because I like randomly am like better against most Marth players with the mid tiers and stuff. Like I don't know for sure what to deal with you right now, but I'll come back to you later. And I keep pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off. And I know Gommel is this week. Well, that's what I was gonna say was, I keep pushing it off, and Gommel is this week. So I think this week I don't want to, but I'm putting this out into the world today because I want to come back to it soon. Because I just hate the matchups where I don't have a plan for it in.
Why do you need a fully formed plan for these matchups? They're weaker characters. They're more limited. I think that you can get by with like summarizing information and understanding fight dynamics.
No, I think that's true, but I think I want to like push that hour for the local, where right now I need to win the local, not only for money, but because it's a goal of mine. I want to push up higher on Toronto PR.
Sure.
And I think that's just something that Jigglypuff is a more likely character for Gommel, where it's like this close. I think it makes more sense for me to do that prep this week and do where I have like a month-long break between. I'm going to Tipped Off in June, because that's already like booked, and I'm getting like really cheap flight for that.
Nice.
That I think it makes more sense for me to do it then, where it's like this one's like a big major. Tipped Off is like a tournament. Does that make sense? So like I want to prep for my important matchups that I'm like likely not going to run into at Gommel, because like, I mean, this is like a messed up thing to say, but it's like the truth. Like Quiggles is going to make everyone in Toronto have a decent bracket, right? The same way they did that in Collision with the New York players. Like I know I'll be okay. Like I'll get a comfortable bracket. Whether it's like a player I want or not, that's another story. But like If I get a Fox bracket, I'll be fine. Or if I get Sheiks, I'll be fine.
Sure.
But like the mid tiers, I'm like, whatever. Well, I want to put those next week, but I just want to like have that prepped in case you want to like talk about that next week, if you're okay with that. If not, I've already messaged Junebug to talk about DK. I'm pretty good friends with Swift. We just don't talk about Melee much, but he said he'd be willing to teach me on that, so I feel like I'm good there, but probably I'm gonna want more from DK because I've talked to Junebug about Melee a couple of times. And for me, his style of talking about the game or how he looks at it doesn't really click for me. It's a lot more like
vibes.
Yeah, vibes and like just back air kind of energy, you know? Like doesn't really explain like why is the back air good, what is it doing, that kind of stuff. It's a lot of like an implied vibes. But yeah, anyway.
I think that I could probably help you with DK in about like 5 seconds if we go into direct, but I mean, like, and it's just to run some drills so you can understand how his back air works. But if you want to focus on the other matchups, totally fine. But this would take like about 5 minutes.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe let's just do it at the end of the call then.
Sure.
So yeah, this week I kind of want to focus on Faust. I've been getting a little bit more comfortable against MG, and I'm gonna talk to Justice later tonight on like why I lost to MG and like why I lost a similar set when I was playing ranked earlier this week that he happened to be watching when I was streaming. But I think for me, the big issue right now is with Faust because I feel like gameplay wise, I'm solidly there. And even the last 2 times we played, I'm not sure if the last time, because I think last week, if I'm not mistaken. No, yeah, last 2 times we played, they've both been game 5 sets. And then I lose on game 5. But my feeling from the 2 of them have been, I haven't been disciplined enough and not approaching in the corner. But I watched back my VOD yesterday while I was streaming. And I watched it back. Oh my god, this is so annoying. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the videos right now.
Oh no, I've got the one from I've got the one from 7 days ago, but
yeah, okay. And then there's the one it's in the VOD for the live stream. The other one's near the end. I can pull up the timestamp for that.
Sure.
That's something I'm supposed to do later tonight. But yeah, both of those I feel like game plan wise, I'm pretty good. And my main takeaway from both of them has been, I haven't stated too much with my game plan, which is don't fight him in the corner, do these certain moves, and I'll be okay. And I think that's like true. But I'm like
generally, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, and I'm like I just don't feel like I have much else other than that right now, and that kind of sucks. You know, it doesn't feel like there's like, but I also have this one other thing I can get him with, like work on or something, you know. Other than like. And I don't know, maybe this is like a wrong thing to say, but I think with Jigglypuff, like punish game, like I think Zane has a really strong punish game against most players, but I think also like the punish games he has, the really strong ones against Puff, from what I watch, feels like he's got like a pretty good read on them for the most part, for like which way they're gonna DI, what they're looking for. I don't really know how to influence that harder, because I think Faust hits me a lot harder, but I hit him more. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Which it's like. I don't know. I think that's kind of annoying. I don't know if that's a Jigglypuff thing or a me thing. But yeah, I think that's really what I'm looking for today. It's not necessarily even just like, how can I punish harder? But it's like, there's got to be more things I can work on that it's like important in this gameplay. I feel like generally speaking, I'm good against Jigglypuff. And I would say better than most Marths, which I'm like happy about. That feels good. But I know I can push it more. I just don't know where to push it. So that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Let me ask you, so why don't we take a look at some of Zane's matches? Because I think that what we're tapping into is you're saying that you have that it feels like he has a read on where the Jigglypuff is DIing, right?
Yeah, where they're DIing or like putting pressure on them, making them like double like freak out, I guess. You know, that's the energy. Like I watch Hungrybox get grabbed by a Zane and he's like making faces. It looks like he's like let go of his controller. He's just like shaking in his boots kind of thing. That's what it feels like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I see that Michael and Zane played in Winners Top 64 at Full Bloom. It's 2 months ago. You want to take a look at that? Because
Sure.
I feel
Yeah.
like with Hungry Box, like there's a bit more history there. Michael doesn't have that with Zane. So if he's like farming him with combo damage, then it's probably based a little bit more off of like Zane being able to influence that pressure in the moment, which I think is what you're looking for, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, and I think that's something I'm like weak as a player overall. It's like pressure in the moment kind of thing.
Cool.
Like I was talking with
Mm-hmm.
I was talking with Mono and Shmeez earlier about like I learned a new setup for Tipper, which is like I've known about it. Like it almost feels like I know the math on how to do it, but I've never done the math itself. But like I'll do like down tilt on someone's shield, and if they jump at me, I'll F smash them, and then it'll Tipper them and kill them. And I know that's like pressure from the down tilt, if that makes sense. But
Sure.
yeah.
So let's take
anyway.
a look. Let's take a look at this sequence. Let's do 0.5 on this. So, why do you think that Zane knows to down throw there?
So okay, this might be a weird answer, but I've watched a lesson where Zane has coached someone on Marth versus Puff. It's like the one lesson that exists, and he said he likes to do the throws on Puff, like the chain grabs, really, for positioning, which like to me doesn't really make sense here because it's low percent. So my guess is that he's doing it because the position won't kill if he gets a down air here. Which like I don't know why he's not, but yeah, anyway. I think he's just doing it for damage and on top of the positioning and like, but I don't know why he's doing it the forward throw after. He down throws him again, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So let's do a quick thing. How do we know that the down throw is going to work? Because presumably Jigglypuff could DI the other way, but I don't think that she can. But there's a reason for that. So why do we know the down throw is going to work here?
Well, my thought is just like I just assume every Puff is gonna hold out so they don't get tippered early and die, but that's just it. It's like to me in my head it's like 50-50, you know.
So let's rewatch this clip because I think that there's something going on here that you've missed. It's okay. We'll actually make this like half speed, even like slower. So let's back up. Boom. Pay attention to the Jigglypuff. What did she do?
Jumped.
Right. And which way was she holding?
Oh, I didn't see that. Well, I guess like, just based off the DI, I know that she's holding out to Sage.
So look at the way she jumps. She jumped back.
Yeah. Okay. I could see that in like low speed. Sure. I don't know if I would see that in tournament, but.
Well, the other option is that she's holding down, right?
Yeah.
Because she's like was crouching when beforehand, right? So
yeah.
If she's jumping or if she's crouching, she's holding down.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think down gets her out of the down throw regrab, does it?
No, I don't think so. I think it's the equivalent of like no DI.
Right. So she's either no DIing or she's DIing in based on the two actions that we saw her do.
Yeah.
Because of how her movement was. So we know that her stick is pointed here, or it's pointed... Oh, wait, no, that's the wrong way.
Other way.
Or it's pointed here, because of how she's moving here. So Zane, that is why Zane knows to do this, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, so what I would say is, you're thinking that, like, Zane is pressuring his opponent and, like, causing them to, like, do bad DIs, and that may be possible. But here I think he's simply observing what Jigglypuff is doing.
That's interesting. Okay, yeah. No, I can see that.
And then
I've never really considered the down specifically.
Yeah, like it's like no DI or because like the other thing that makes sense for Jigglypuff, like after landing here, if Jigglypuff wants to avoid dying to Marth, the other thing that makes a lot of sense to me is wave dashing back. So like So if Zane gets it, like, or shielding potentially, because Zane was like pretty far back here, like I could definitely because it's Zane. Actually, yeah, this would be an example of I could see Zane's threat being a factor here because Zane is like good at pivot tipper. So if he's thinking that he might pivot tipper here, and is trying like shield might be another thing that Zane might consider, but like none of these are actually what Michael winds up doing. He just jumps away. But yeah, that would be one. So on the second one just looks like he then just, having established this throw position, then he's just throwing in the correct direction.
Yeah.
So there's one thing that's an observation, and another thing that's like one thing's observation, and the next one is just position.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see how much like threat he gets off this, right?
Yeah.
Like this is like positional gold. Like he doesn't even convert it into like maximum power, but like this I think is another example. Look at how long he holds him for.
He played in real time. Do you mind?
Sure, not a problem. Let me just start back. We'll play the full sequence. So he mixes up how long he's holding the opponent for, too.
Mm-hmm.
To give the illusion of, like, oh, am I going to forward throw? Am I going to down throw? Like, he gets them thinking about it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because, like, usually, and correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, sometimes when we're, like, planning our throw mix-up with Marth, we'll sometimes, like, pause and be like, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to do this throw.
Mm.
And then, like, there's that beat which tells the Jigglypuff player, okay, so he's doing the different throw.
He's doing this throw, yeah.
Yeah, but then Zane knows about that tendency and doesn't fall to that. Because look at, like, what he does on his next throw. He just does the standard throw combo.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, because I have in my notes, so there's like a... where is it? Jigglypuff. I have like the percents, right? And I think F throw usually like 130.
Mm-hmm.
You can only forward throw at that percent.
If they DI in, you can throw, like if they DI the wrong way, I'm pretty sure you can down throw them still.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't have that written down, but I can see that being a thing at like 100 even though, like versus like 130, because that is true. Like down throw, you'd mix up like run. Forward throw, run, cancel F smash, or down throw, pivot F smash if on DI in. Yeah. Both ones you're looking for DI in, right?
I need to verify that. But I think that like what we can see here is like, so let's look at like the rest. Like so after he respawns, what does he do with this? So I think that this is another example of. So why would he go for this down throw? Why would he go for this down throw, you think?
Like, well, okay, so like this is I think this is like a better example for me because it's like a lot of these times when I get a grab, it's either I'm punishing a landing back air or like they're doing like a bad laggy move on my shield and I get a free grab, or it's a rest punish like this. And lately I've been doing rest punishes because worst case, it's good for percent in position, like that old Zane guide says, which I'm trying to do more of, versus like just throw into hit every time. But also, like, there is a 50-50 here on the throw from the Jigglypuff's perspective, is which way to DI. And in my head, when I watch this one, I'm seeing, okay, well, I'm at 45%. The only way I die here is if I get tippered, and the only way he gets a tipper set up on me where I can't react to it is out of a throw. So I'm just going to DI out on the throw, which means that, and Zane probably also knows that because of the kill percentage. So I'm going to do a down throw here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm going to do a down throw here, and I'm going to get some damage.
So he's basically staying one step ahead of Jigglypuff in the mix-up system.
Yeah.
So, like, Jigglypuff is probably DIing like this because the only thing that kills them is, like, being forward thrown into down air or, like, thrown into tipper, basically.
Yeah.
And both
which, like, yeah, that beats both DI. Or that DI beats both.
Yeah, exactly. So then what Zane is doing correctly is understanding that with them holding against the force of his down throw, which is sending like this way, we'll make Zane red. Yeah, like Zane is just manipulating DI basically. Zane knows his thing is going this, so then they wind up, like, they kind of like wind up going here. And then from here, he can just follow up. Absolutely.
But I think that's my issue with Faust a lot of the time, is I don't know if I have like predictable habits or whatever, because like I don't know, I feel like generally speaking I'm pretty understanding of like DI mix-ups and like how to use them, but I I think the first one we talked about more versus like this rest punish setup is more interesting, or like a newer idea to me, because one, I don't really see myself reacting to that jump squat nearly in time. Like it's just too short of an animation, I think. But I would already be anticipating that Jigglypuff's gonna hold out on the stage there anyway, because that's like a quote unquote Puff player thing to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Like, I think the down throw here is especially strong because it beats what most Puff players are DI, or like built to DI for anyway. Well, what they have like systematically in them.
Well, the other thing is that like if they start like DIing this thing properly, then you can just switch to the more powerful thing. Like if they start
what do you mean by that,
if they start DIing the down throw properly, you just in that situation that comes up, you start doing like forward throws instead. Because that's the more powerful play.
Yeah, of course.
So what Zane is kind of doing is he's kind of just doing a level 2 play. Like normally, like the most powerful thing, assuming the Jigglypuff makes a mistake, like assuming that we get what we want, the most powerful play is to forward throw. But Zane, knowing that, doesn't let him have it. Like he just punishes it. And I think that I do think that he is paying attention to how how Michael is moving. Because I think that is governing a lot of like how he does his like how do I put this? I think it structures some of the like the call outs he goes for.
No, I think that's fair. I think context matters, of course. But I think like I don't know. I think in some cases like Zane talks about a lot about how like sometimes when he goes for grab, it's like really, really scary to do it against Jigglypuff because you don't exactly know what they're going to do out of it. And I think there's a lot of times when you do get a grab on Puff, if it's like center of the stage, for example, or like there was like a really good example is here. I'll pull it up. It's my last stock against Faust on game 5 at the local this week. I get like a really important grab on him that could have just won me the set straight up. Here.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing screen. Oops.
No worries.
Yeah. So it's like right here, I think. Yeah, right here. I get a really important grab here. And it's like, this is like an especially interesting one to me because I know at this percent, down throw beats it 100% because I can just do down throw F smash. That'll combo. And if he if he DIs in on down throw, and if he DIs in on F throw, then I get a tipper. Like I know this percent, so I'm like, okay, I just need to hit the in DI. But when I watch it back, I guess the tell for me is like he looks like he's coming in here. Now he looks like he's jumping away. So like I know for sure on the jump away I get it. You think that's the issue too? Is the pummel?
Yeah, because it gives him time to fix his DI.
But I guess my question is like, how like, and I think that's totally fair, and like that's a real thing, and I understand that. But how am I supposed to influence this at all? I guess is from this point, right? Because like in his eyes, he might just be freaking out the fact that he got grabbed to begin with. It's scary to try and grab Jigglypuff here where he's actionable. I'll pause where it is.
Yeah, you can also
here.
Oh yeah, this isn't like YouTube, is it? It's Twitch.
No, this is YouTube.
Oh, okay. If it's YouTube, then yeah, you should be able to, yeah, you can use frame advance.
Right, but what I'm saying is like after this landing here, lands with fair, retreating. Obviously, if I'm able to slow it down, I can see, okay, he's retreating with fair, he's jumping away, he's holding out even still. Here, if anything, I would think that the extra pummel would mean that he DIs in this way, right? Maybe not, but that's just like the, oh god, it's last stock, I'm not thinking so much, right? I'm holding out, he's pummeling me, he's gonna throw me. Does that make sense? Let me switch it up.
I mean, it kind of does. So, what I would say is, the pummel just alerts him to the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just grab him,
fair enough, yeah.
If you grab him and toss him, I think that the tossing occurs within like 15 frames. So he doesn't really have enough time to like react and change course. The pummel gives him that.
But I guess my point that I'm trying to make is like, you're right, it alerts him to the situation, And if anything, I would think that the alert might make him second guess or lock in, however he decides to interpret it. But my point is, either left or right should kill him here as long as I guess right. And I'm not really sure in general, not just on this one throw, because I understand this one throw, like it's 50-50 at the end of the day, whichever, if I guess right or influence him right correctly, however you want to look at it. But I think what we talked about in the Michael set makes sense so far, and I'm open to exploring it more. But I think I would also be interested to see spots where I'm not catching on to it in my sets, or
yeah. Well,
I could be influencing it more.
Do you want to pass me the link and we can take a look at that?
Yeah, sure. I'll timestamp it even for you.
Sure. Because yeah, I think that's good. The one thing I would say about the set that, like, about the moment you told me about, is that it's not so much that giving them the 50-50 is like, it's not so much that anything you're saying is wrong. It's just that, like, why would we make the reaction test easier for them?
Yeah, and that's totally fair. Yeah.
Like, because what we're doing really is we're adding a pummel takes about like 16-17 frames. We are giving them that 16-17 frames of information to let them know that there is a 50-50 coming up. Whereas if we just grab them and toss them, they don't have that. They have to anticipate that they are supposed to be that they are supposed to DI a particular way. Which is why I think you see in a lot of these moments Zane just like grabs and tosses them, especially against like where they were supposed to be especially to punish the way they were DIing previously. And then sometimes he slows it down, and I think part of why he slows it down is so that they have time to correct their DI. But then by him throwing immediately, he's still catching them. Sorry, by then throwing them off beat in a different direction, he's then catching them for making the correction. So it's kind of like there's a lot going on with those plays.
I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like that's what I'm trying to say also about the pummel is like whether it be like a alert to the situation, like okay, lock in, do the right thing, or oh god, he's pummeling, like I'm gonna second guess it, and like people double guess themselves in that moment. I think that's a player-to-player thing, how they interpret it. I would say, generally speaking, though, it probably is, okay, they're going to grab me, they're going to pivot me, like, do that. That's probably what most people are thinking in a given moment. But I think the grab and hold mix-up even is just pretty good, because I don't think most puff players are mashing anyway. They're more scared to DI in that spot.
Right.
They're more worried about their DI, yeah.
Yeah, but if they're worried about their DI, then that means that, like, if we grab and throw them in a different direction than the one that they're DIing, then, like, remember, a stick input requires them to move the stick from their held down position, which, if they're at resting, takes a pretty good amount of, like, force. Like, they have to basically change gears entirely in anticipation.
Yeah.
That is a very big ask, and if we give them room to, if we make that window bigger for 3 damage, I just don't think the 3 damage is worth it.
No, I agree. I'm saying, like, it's interesting to me that the hold does the same thing as the pummel almost, but the pummel like locks you in for a little longer for 3 damage, which I agree. Like, I think the pummel in game 5, I would hope, was just me
autopilot probably.
Yeah, autopilot, get ready to tipper him, whatever. But there I do it anyway, so maybe it's not. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, again, it's different. I think that, like, we can evaluate these decisions differently at low percents, but one thing I am noticing is that, like, you basically always forward throw him, from what I've seen so far. I don't think I've actually seen you down throw him. And
yeah, I'm not sure if that's a habit or if it's because I wouldn't know what I get off down throw at low percent. That might be just something I have to Google. But
so
I can make that down.
So at this percent, you can tipper him if he DIs in, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, I would say that, like, I think that, like, this is what this really represents to me as a knowledge gap. Like, Zane is down throwing on a lot of these because he's using it to manipulate the DI. If Faust always knows that you're gonna throw him forward, he only ever has to DI that way.
Right.
But, like, the down throw represents a very important, like, 50-50 that you're not really playing towards now much, because Marth doesn't really have great... Like, see, that there. The only times you're really going for, like... The only down throw I've seen you go for is one where it kills him if you get the DI right. I would be curious to see, is this a pattern? Like, do you only down throw when it's like kill percent? Because if that's the case, then that means that represents a huge hole in your coverage.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably accurate. Like, I only know down throw percents a little bit. Like, I know for pivot F smash for forward throw, it's 65 is like a good number, and that down throw will be the down throw is going to be just like regular F smash if you get it. So I think sometimes I'll do that down throw, just where I don't think I'm going to get a pivot in that moment. But otherwise, like, I don't know. I think for higher percents, I mostly just mix up F throw and down throw based on where I think he's going to go, and I think he likes DIing off stage. So that's when I'll do down throw, is if I'm grabbing him in the corner facing out, I'll do down throw then. And it works sometimes. Like, I know I got a couple kills for it on Stadium, I think maybe here, but yeah.
It's like, yeah, but yeah, like there's such a huge bias towards forward throwing in your throw game. Like,
no, I'm not denying it. I'm just explaining, like, that's the only times I would think I would do it.
Oh, no. And I appreciate you explaining. What I'm saying is that, like, yeah, the more I watch this, the more and more I see that, like, when it comes to our lack of damage output, this is a huge problem. One thing I would say about Marth's down throw is that if the opponent DIs into it, as a general rule, you get the same things off of forward throw, like very similar things that you get off forward throw, off of down throw. Like, if they DI into down throw, you can very easily nair into them. You can you can nair into them moving forward. You can very easily forward smash them. Fairs work, up airs work. Like, you name it, you can probably do it.
Right.
Regrab works, for God's sakes. On top of, like, in terms of other things, I would just say that, like, I think that, like, with you, we just need to understand, like, when people get out of stun better, so we don't have to mesmerize so many percents. Because, like, I feel like this game has a lot of like little combos and like subtleties, because, and I get that throws work a little bit more forgiving, like are more forgiving in this way, but all of the knockback, all knockback is really just a hit, is just a trajectory vector. That's it.
Right.
Like, so as soon as they are no longer following that trajectory vector anymore, you know they've gotten out. Jigglypuff in particular is really easy to read on this because her drift is so insane. So, like, when she starts, like, when she's suddenly moving at a curve and then she's not moving at a curve anymore, or she's moving at a completely different trajectory, like she's going straight down, or she's moving at a completely different trajectory, it's really easy to, like, kind of discern that she's out of things. Like, if we look at this last forward smash, do you see what I mean? Like, the second that she's out of stun, like, you can kind of tell. Like, granted, Faust fairs, but, like, this would be the end of the vector.
Fair. Yeah.
So, I think that, like, understanding that, like, how that works would be a lot more useful for you, because I think that, like, it's still worth, like, kind of tinkering with down throw percents if that helps you, but I really do think that, like, just kind of doing it more to get a feel for it, and then understanding when you can tell that they're out of it, will give you overall a better feel, because it'll also apply to all of your other moves.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm curious to see is, like, why do you think that? Like, what's your tell for me that I'm not considering that when I'm playing?
It's more about how you talk about the game. So you're telling me all these percents and things that you don't know, but but there's tons of percents with my character, and whenever I've played a character that I don't know, but it doesn't stop me from using my moves at those points, because, like, I think, you know, if I think that there's a reason to use them. Like, that down throw was actually very reassuring. I'm really glad I got to see that one. But yeah, I would say that, like, part of it is, okay, so part of it is honestly, like, the low percent game. So let me see here. I think you get, like, so not here, this is a forward smash, but, like, the fact that we're backing up after we hit this down tilt.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why we're not advancing.
The reason for me is because I don't think I'm reacting well enough here. But I know that when I get this close and do this down tilt, like you can see it later on game 5 of the set, like I get grabbed at like 130 because he's holding down here. And I think where I'm doing the down tilt, like running into it, I think he's already landed for a good amount of time. He's rolled in, yeah. So he's likely going to crouch because that's just a player habit, I know, where he spams crouch when he's on the ground. So this down tilt, like running in this close, so misspaced, and my head is bad. So I'm like, oh my god, get out, get out, get out. Because he's either going to S smash me or fish for grab.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of the reasoning why. Yeah.
Gotcha. So if that's the case, wouldn't it make more sense to like block or like block in the event of forward smash because grab doesn't really do anything to you here?
What do you mean grab doesn't do anything to me?
Like if he crouch cancel grabs, he doesn't really get anything for it, right? Because he can just throw you into the corner at 10. And then he can't do down throw stuff either because of the platform configuration. I
think that's fair. That I wouldn't get he wouldn't get like too much at literally 0, but I would think at like 20 or 30.
But you're not at 20 or 30.
Yeah, which is fair, but I don't think I don't think that would influence too much for me. I think I would treat it generally the same because it's such a Yeah, that's true.
Because, like, you're not structuring with the, because to me, like, that, if we're not, so, it's kind of like we have this, there's a bit of a disconnect here. Because percents matter really heavily with your combos, I'm getting the impression. Which is why we avoid down throw when we're not sure what works. Like, when we don't have it in paper, like, written down what works and what doesn't work. But when it comes to like our defense, we're not paying as much attention to it because that would kind of steer our decision making on this one. Like, to me, once I commit to this down tilt, I understand that like this down tilt was not very well done. So my thinking is after I hit this thing, I don't want to back up. I want to crouch and keep down tilting. I want to hold my ground. I want to make it so that like, because the other thing is even after I hit this down tilt, even if they crouch cancel, they still have to time the forward smash, and that gives me time to get my like down tilt out to clank. If I'm like, I want to be like, it's also good for me to generally be crouch canceling. I'm at 0, so if I'm crouching it, if I crouch the hit, then I don't get knocked over. Like, I'm totally fine. Like, I want to just be, I want to be stubborn here, especially after I see Jigglypuff pop up like this. But with the impression I get with you is you're acting like you're still gonna die. Like, so you're backing up.
I wouldn't say die literally, but yeah, like a lot of damage I could lose off this. Like, I think that is like especially concerning. That back throw he just did there, because it's like, sure, he's a little slow on it with this full hop and he doesn't commit to the drift, but I think I get like pretty scary pressure here.
Why? In my opinion. He can't hit you. Like,
I'm thinking he's barely not hitting me here. I think it's like very close, and I do think maybe my DI on the throw could matter. Probably not. DI... That looks like out DI to me.
Your DI could have been slightly better, but like we're talking like a hair. Here, you're not in danger there. Like, you're fine. Okay, think of it this way. He full committed with his full hop, with a full hop into your space, and could not hit you. Like,
yeah. Like, I don't know. I think for me, like, this is not a spot where I like ever really see myself wanting to be against Jigglypuff, like this close in a scrap. So maybe this is like a bad example to talk about it for me to like click and get it, I think. But in my head, I'm like I know when I get this punish here off of it because he does like a terrible F smash after, but I would think that like this is not somewhere I ever really want to be. Like, if he gets another grab here after the back air, like, I'm in a really bad spot now, you know?
So let me get this straight. So he grabs you.
Yep.
And if we were fighting Sheik, Captain Falcon, Ice Climbers, or even Donkey Kong, they would do like 60 damage and we'd be dying right now. But Jigglypuff gets this back throw. She has to, like, come all the way over, can't get a direct follow-up, needs to win this mix-up in the corner to get something, then needs to win, like, another mix-up when she actually throws us off. And we're saying that this character is a nightmare of punishment?
I mean, Yeah, like I would think that like if it's she, like she gets like 60%, like lands me with an up air, and like maybe I have to land on a juggle, but even then, like I don't think that's as scary as like landing on a platform against Puff for the most part. Or like if I get grabbed again by Sheik in that same spot, then sure, like that's really bad. I don't want that. But my point, I think what I'm trying to make is not necessarily about this next coming up interaction. I think this grab is not the one we're talking about really. It's the down tilt, right? Where it's like I don't want to be that close and scrap with Jigglypuff in that spot.
Oh, I see. So like this, so like when you do this one.
Yeah. Like I would think
you never
putting the space between us.
You never land on the platform. You just DI up and away. Like you just go here.
On Sheik?
No, on Jigglypuff. If she like down throws, if Jigglypuff.
Oh yeah, well that's totally fair. Yeah, but I would think Faust knows enough by this point that like if he down throws me, he's getting like an up air for damage maybe, and that's it. But throwing me into the corner where he can put on pressure and have the stage position and like everything kind of cascades really terribly for me for there.
Yeah, but it has to cascade though. Like you have to lose.
And
you have to lose additional mix-ups and 50-50s and like 1-in-3s and before like that becomes a problem after he throws you. That's my point. Like
no, I think that's fair, but I think my thing that's like not clicking to me about that is why force that mix-up upon myself when I can just reset here in this position? What am I really like? To me, it sounds like while it's true he has to win another mix-up, it doesn't really sound like that following mix-up is going to be very, very favorable to me, as opposed to resetting where I feel like we're at a pretty neutral position off that down tilt.
Okay, but like, kind of, but I'm just saying that like, we also confirmed that Jigglypuff was like airborne, so we can just keep hitting her. And even if she's not airborne, crouch canceling allows you to like counter hit after crouch canceling after the down tilt allows you to counter hit a lot of the things that she would use to punish that down tilt, like her forward smash. So if that's the case, why not simply trade damage, especially if you're like, I think you were up a bit at the time. Like you were both at like, you were, okay, so it was on the first stock. So, okay, so you were even-ish. But, like, I don't see why, if we have 27 on her and we're at 0, I don't see why we wouldn't be willing to trade damage, because damage is more valuable to us, generally speaking, than it is to her, when we're building towards, like, the throw pivot tipper, like, percents, right? So, like, us being at, like, 0 and us being at, like, 17, I don't think is that big of a difference. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but, yeah, I just don't think it is. But her being at, like, say, like, 50 versus 27, that is a big difference, because we're starting
I agree.
Yeah, we're starting to get to the point where like our fair becomes more of like a bulldozer in neutral. We can start to like hit her around with Nair. Like with Nair, we're starting to look at that like potentially like down air grab, like throw tipper as a way to like put her away. Like we make up a lot of ground towards like the game states we want. Like look at that. This is exactly the type of thing. Like look at how we like build damage on this stock, right? So like we get this, it's a 2-piece combo, we keep position, we get another one, another 2-piece, we keep position, we keep like hitting her. Like I think you could be going for like more pushy style stuff. Like I think that hitting her away like this might be like an opportunity. Like what if we like fair her here, right? Like we fair her and push her forward with double fair. Like that would be one thing that I would question.
Yeah, I mean that's possible. I think it's a difference of like 5%, but it's an optimization. This is my thought with this whole.
It's more than 5%, but go ahead with your thought.
Yeah, like a minor amount is I guess the point I'm trying to make. But my question I guess is like, so here I have a note here that I wrote from the other day because I was talking to Crudo while I was streaming, and one piece of advice they gave me was when it comes to like the corner in this spot, like this spot here. And this is like almost like very similar to like the back throw example, right? I think this is like a bad position to be in. I think the two bad positions that you have in this matchup is right on top of Puff. I don't think Marth really wants to scrap with Jigglypuff. I think it's not in his favor to do so.
Okay,
and so I could explain why. Sorry?
No, so this is bad, like you being in the corner.
Yeah, so this is bad, and if I were to move Marth here, I think where I was after that down tilt is equally bad. I think that because like, the threat, I think the two moves you don't want to get hit by for Jigglypuff the most is grab and up air. Everything else, it's like if I get hit by back air once at a lower percent, like whatever. I can crouch cancel it for the most part. If I get hit by it, doesn't really combo too much if I DI out. It doesn't knock down till like decently later. So it's not like the end of the world. But I think at lower percents, grab and up air are almost always scary. I think like regardless of DI, unless it's like 150, right? So what I was talking about with Crudo, and why I think this is like kind of relevant, what I'm trying to understand why you're pushing to scrap with Puff in this spot. Crudo gave me the piece of advice that he said, in this like spots like this where like you can't really get past Jigglypuff, like she kind of is controlling the space, and you have to guess whether or not you're gonna like stay here and force a mix up, try and run through, or like swing through, whichever, and go like, play it horizontally, or if you're gonna go above, because she can't cover all of them. But generally speaking, I would say, and I think you would agree, that like Jigglypuff is pretty good at controlling the horizontal space with back air. She might have to get up if she wants to cover the vertical space, but she's still really only covering like horizontal space for the most part. She's not really playing a vertical game with me as much, but it takes time for her, so that's why getting up and going over kind of works. So he's saying that like, yeah, it's tough because she doesn't really ever have to leave here, but she can still put on pressure between the two of you, and it's tough to really get past that where you have like meaningful room to play. So he's saying in this spot, like you can crouch here, kind of like what you're saying, and like force almost like a stalemate where it's like if she comes in on you, then you have like good options to beat it with crouch cancel. Like obviously I'm at 80 here, so it's not really as good, but he said you can probably stalemate spots where she crouches on your crouch more after she wins a mix-up that ends with her getting close. It's pretty easy to just play it slow in those spots, since her only significant reward is you like jumping or something and getting hit, and outside of rip and grab, she doesn't have really good ways to interact with it. And you can just like take dash out of crouch and whatever, right?
Yeah,
which I think makes sense.
That's
but
that's kind of what I'm suggesting we do.
And
like, after the down tilt, I'm saying we like hold our ground and just like hit her more, or like
which
crouch.
I think makes sense. But I think my concern with that spot is like there's a difference between how far away we are in these two examples, right? Like this one is obviously drastically further away, but I would like here I'll even pull it up just because it's like I know exactly where it happens, and I was mad about it when I was playing.
Yeah, you bring it up so I can see, because like I think I need line of sight on this.
Yeah, because I would think that down tilt is like way too close for me to be staying there. I'll play it 2x speed because I don't know exactly what stock, but I know I was at like, she was at like 100, so I can say like that for sure.
I also sent you an image because I think it's helpful. This is basically so this image is basically where I think you should be positionally versus Jigglypuff in general.
Okay.
So like,
I'll check that out in a sec.
Yeah, like when Jigglypuff is cornered, this is basically the spot I think that you want to be here, and it's I know that she's not always cornered, but it teaches some very basic positional rules of thumb about this matchup, because once you see it, you'll kind of see what I mean. This is more for Sheiks, but like it applies to Marth. Basically, any human it applies to.
Okay, no, that's good.
Any human that isn't Peach, because Peach just doesn't care about things in general. So let's see here.
Yeah, it might be on last stock now. I'm remembering a little more.
It's okay.
But
these things happen.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I think I just saw it.
Oh, the down tilt?
Yeah, there was a down tilt that like, did you hit or did it whiff?
The one I'm talking about hit for sure, but I'm pretty sure it was on the right side of the stage.
Okay.
Or like it was on the right side of the stage.
See, the thing is, I don't know why we're down tilting so much, because all he's doing is short hopping around with back air.
Here, for sure, yeah. In general, when he's at high percent, I've talked to Moki about it right here.
Oh.
He has an insane habit of crouching at high percent. Like he spams it. So it's like this one looks a little goofy because he's getting pushed from the down tilt at high percent, and he is close.
And he's also true crouching. And he wave dashed into you.
He's wave dashed, yeah. So I don't know if he is true crouching.
It doesn't matter in the context of like, so he got hit by like the weak hit of the down tilt, basically, like the lowest knockback part of it.
And he's like decently far away and still gets a grab, you know? So I would think that like, yeah, if I dashed there, because I don't think I have time to dash in this one, and I think it's just like comedically like brutal.
This is just he slid into like basically your zone. I'm pretty sure he slid into your zone. Yeah, it's just he was like insanely close when you like poked him. In the situation that I was talking about, like earlier in the Dreamland match, let me grab it real quick. Yeah, he's like, no, like, it's not even close to like that. So to me, like, a wave dash takes like 16 frames for Jigglypuff to do, or like 15 frames or so. Like, that is plenty of time for you to be able to interpret what's going on, I feel. Like, you also have the advantage of just being able to tell that like what's going on based on the trajectory. Heck, from the dash away that you do here, if you had just like gone the other way sooner, you might have still been able to do something with this. But yeah,
I think like for me, like I'm looking at this and I'm thinking like, because I don't think I have enough time really to react to that trajectory unless I'm like looking for it actively as I'm doing the down tilt. I think I would be looking for like, okay, I'm wave dash. I'm concerned already because I'm wave dashing in way too close to begin with, right? Like that's where this is all coming from. The dash attack. It's I got too close.
I see.
Does that make sense? Like because it's like as I'm moving in, it's the first stock, but yeah, like as I'm moving in, it's all it feels like the exact same thing, no? With the wave dash in here.
The difference is that, like, you're the one wave dashing in because you are in a pressuring position, whereas on the other one, he was the one wave dashing in.
Right. But if he was crouching as I'm moving in here, is it not, like, the same thing? Like, I know he's not literally crouching here, but I'm more so saying, like, for the same line of thinking, getting out of there makes more sense, right? Because I'm quite literally right on top of him.
Yeah, you could get out of... Like, you can get out of here. I'm just saying that we've already committed to this, but... Like, yeah, okay. So if you're saying that, like, should we be better spaced on it? Like, sure. I'll concede the point that we probably needed better spacing on this. I just don't... I think that, like, we could fight him more when he does show that he's holding down after.
Well, yeah, I don't think I have an issue with that. I'm just trying to understand, because, like, from my perspective... What you're saying about like holding down and like forcing that scrap, I think even closer to here. Like I think if I was like here on Yoshi's story, I think that like makes total sense, and that's like a note that I have that I think it makes sense. But I think on top of Jigglypuff, where like I'm at threat of getting grabbed, I don't know. I feel like. Because I don't know. I think Jigglypuff players are very like simple when it comes to defense, and it's like I either know if off a crouch cancel they're either gonna grab or F smash me, almost like regardless of spacing for the most part. Most of the time it feels like for most players.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, if I know I'm this close and I know he's gonna grab me here,
but he doesn't.
Maybe what if he doesn't? Sure, right?
No, but he doesn't because he's trying to get back to the air so he can fight properly.
Well, I would think that's because he's not crouching to begin with, and he knows that as I'm down tilting him. Does that make sense?
Well,
I would think if he's ready to crouch here, then like, I just get grabbed. Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah. I guess the way that I'm looking at it, this is, it's not a super tight, like, okay, so the down tilt, so let's bust out some frame data because I think that makes this a little easier. So your down tilt is hitting on 7. It interrupts on 20, so there's no, or yeah, it has 20 frames of mandatory duration. That means that like after he gets hit by the down tilt, he's gonna get hit, go through hit lag, and then on for the next 4 frames, so 8 through 11, so 8, 9, 10, 11. He is occupied with his auto-cancel landing, and then he's actionable. This means that he has a whopping 9 frames, assuming that he does all this properly, to get the grab on you. And grabs come out on hit on 7 and 8. So he has a 2-frame window to punish you before you're actionable. So what I'm getting at is, we keep assuming that this grab is absolutely 1000%, not a doubt in our mind, going to hit us every single time. But what I'm saying is that this is such a tight window for a counterattack that if it occurs within a third of a second, like the entire thing from start to finish, including startup time, occurs within a third of a second. So I think the assumption that we're always going to get punished by this is just not realistic. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't think I literally think it 100% of the time, but I think it's likely. Does that make sense? I would argue that a 2-frame window is tough to hit on reaction, absolutely, but I think where it's a spot where like it's comfortable for you to like almost mash it even, like I don't think that's like crazy, you know? Well, like because I think he has a habit of holding down at higher percents, so that's not really relevant here, but like when he's on the ground, he's crouching, he is fishing for a CC reversal, whether it be F smash or grab or sometimes even spot dodge. That's up to him to determine that. But yeah, I think it's like somewhat similar.
Well, the other thing I would kind of comment is that remember that your grab hits on 7 as well. So when you are moving into when you're moving in on him, it's not just a matter of he has to worry about only down tilt and getting ready for the counter hit on that down tilt. He also then has to be like getting ready for like the possible grab that's coming, because they both hit in the same window. So the only thing I would comment there is I think that we're assuming a lot about what he's playing around without him actually, at least at the low percents, because the high percents makes more sense. That's fine. But I think at the low percents, we're generalizing a lot of things that happen in one game state to what happens in another game state.
That makes sense. I think I'm just having a hard time understanding like what it is I'm trying to accomplish by staying there and playing a mix-up that like I don't think, like, I understand I can like win the mix-up and get more damage off it for sure.
Yes.
But is the risk reward in that spot not in my favor? Like, why would I want to force? I guess like it's the same line of thinking of like, why would I want to scrap in the corner or like swing in the corner against Jigglypuff, where it feels so, and obviously this is like a dramatization kind of thing where it's like if I get hit off stage I could die, but like why would I want to risk eating a bigger punish in this spot against her than not? And I understand like obviously I'm not trying to play like a robot, like, and I'm trying to.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, I just think that for the most part I have other spots like this. So are you saying that this is just a spot that you think is missing in general?
Yeah. Like, why don't we hold our ground? Simple. Because, like, why do we hold our ground even when it's not necessarily the most optimal risk-reward move? Simple. Because if we never hold our ground, then that indicates that whenever we, like, down tilt, the opponent is able to back up. The opponent is able to engage after we run away from the down tilt. If we never swing after the down tilt, the opponent always knows that we are moving away from them after that down tilt, and therefore they are able to come in on us and chase us. Look at what happens on this like Pokemon Stadium stock. Like, where was it? I think it was the one prior. Sure. Because I think that he just like actually just chases you around after you back. Like, I think there's like a stock where he just chases you around after I think it's the one after this one. I think it's, yeah, he's at high percent. Whenever you miss a down tilt, he basically just sets up in perfect combat position to like deal with you with your next play. And what I'm saying is that like if we never hold our ground ever, and maybe it's not down tilt into down tilt, but if we never like represent that there's something that can come after that down tilt, then there is never a reason for him to ever worry about what comes after the down tilt. Like here. So we down tilt, okay, we miss, we get carried off, and then what else? I think there's more that happens on the last one, possibly. But, like, even, like, yeah. So, let's see here. Down tilt, please. Oh, no, you're not doing it. Cool. Even still, though, like, after these, like, forward airs and these aerials, like, you basically always dash away and then come back in. But, like, it's not guaranteed that he can just, like, move. Like, you're not actually required to do that on all of these. Like, sometimes your aerial is just efficiently played enough that you can just, like, attack again after. Like, so you just missed this aerial. His back air is coming out, but, like, you could probably just, like, you know, you could probably contest him with up tilt. Like, you could probably contest him with, like, a lot of you could probably contest him with side B as well. Like, the fact that we're always defaulting from this position, and he's started this shield drop preemptively. Like, he got out of, like he's...
Yeah, because it hasn't hit.
Yeah. So, like, the fact that we're always, like, choosing to, like, retreat after swing, or we're such a high percentage of our, like, of our plays are retreating after swinging, just kind of tells him that he can, like, he can overshoot into us after we miss our hit. That's a problem, because Jigglypuff should not be able, like, her moves don't come out nearly as fast as yours. So this counter, weirdly enough, kind of represents a bit of a represents something different, because it's like we're in a situation with some amount of a mix-up, and he does, like, and we go for something that defends our space. This, in my opinion, is the biggest thing that is missing from your game plan. And I know we've gone a little over time, but, like, this is the thing I wanted to show you with Donkey Kong, because a lot of times you're just letting him, like, set up back airs, basically. You don't have to, though. If you miss your fair and then you go into, or your down tilt and you go into, like, Nair, a lot of times that can clip him out of his startup. He still has to respect the disjoint that you have on the floor. I firmly believe the most useful general thing that you can possibly do for your gameplay is to just get comfortable with the idea of, like, trying to hold your ground a little bit.
I mean, that makes sense. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So okay, why don't you 2x speed this one? I have a VOD for you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm gonna stop watching you, but let me take a look at this, like, thing about this thing with Bing.
Sure.
I want to be clear. Like, I think that you need to give yourself more freedom. Like,
I think that's fair. That's what I'm trying to break out of my game plans, quote unquote, and just use them as, like, an understanding for matchup anyway. So I think I have, like, no issue implementing what you're saying. I'm trying to understand why it's worth it. So I know it sounds like we've gone quite a bit down, like, a rabbit hole for this whole one interaction, but I'm just trying to see the value in it for the most part. And I think the end sentences kind of that you touched upon makes more sense now, because originally I'm looking at it as a perspective like, well, why am I even doing it to begin with? And it's less about the interaction itself, but more about the overall
what it does to the opponent,
timing of the whole place. Yeah,
how it sets the context of what the opponent has to do next. That is it. So the other way that you can look at it, why do Falco players grab in matchups where their grab doesn't do anything, or, like, doesn't give them much? It's the same reason. It's because at the end of the day, it is inefficient to try to punch through somebody's shield, even with his frame traps and block strings. At the end of the day, if somebody just holds block and plays, like, the like the shield grab, like, wave dash out of shield, spot dodge, like, if they just play, like, counter hit roulette, like light shield grab, like, if they just play counter hit roulette with him, it's actually really difficult for him to win those at the top levels if the opponent is good at those things at the level that the Falco player is good at the pressure side. It is inefficient for him to try to break somebody's shield. So
yeah,
as a result, they have to grab, because it is the only direct answer that tells somebody you cannot just, like, call this out so readily. So, this match you win, you're actually doing a good job of holding your ground. Let's look at one where, like, we don't win, because I think that we're going to have a slightly different story. We're going to have more retreating, and we're going to have more, like, things not going our way. So, what happened after this fair?
I do dash back.
And what does he do?
He just runs in, grabs.
So it looks like you're late, and you're trying to, like, wave... Oh, okay, you're trying to do an aerial. So this is actually interesting. So you're trying to hold your ground, but you're late on your aerial, so then he grabs you. See, that was actually a spot where we needed to dash back. But, and then he I don't even know what this is. In general, minor tip, if you're at like 21, never bother with the ledge grab if there's a chance they might grab the edge. Just take the damage and go on stage. Like, minor thing. But,
yeah. Well, that was obviously a mistake.
yeah. No. And I know you're better than that. It's just... Okay. So actually, funnily enough, you're doing a good job of holding your ground. So you, 0.1 for you. Like, 1-0 Maher versus KK. This is, like, such cheese. Like, this is...
Yeah. No, this match is, like, I get 4-stock this match. This match is, like, especially
This match is stupid. Okay, cool. Moving on. So let's look at this one.
Or we could even watch, I think it might be easier. Let's watch one on, like, FD, because that happens. I win...
Okay, cool.
I win...
Let's watch game 5.
Yeah, sure. Like I say, both of them I play FD, so I think it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I don't know who these commentators are, but I hate them.
Why?
I don't know. They're just like they look like Donkey Kong mains. I can't qualify that because they look completely different, but like they're Donkey Kong players.
That's funny.
Okay, so it's not that you're not holding ground, it's just that the way you're doing your wall just isn't appropriate for, like, the situation. You're fighting a lot. And I'll give you an example. So, you are fair down-tilting him when he's above you. Like, what are we doing? If you were fair-fairing, or, like, fair, like, naring, or whatever, like, all of that would be significantly better than this. Great recovery. That was, like, 10 out of 10 recovery. Love these tech chases. I would consider up-throwing him.
Yeah.
Like, up-throw, positional advantage. Like, you just cover his, like, jump out with, like, you cover him falling into you, basically, with your forward air. And then, if he jumps out, then you just fast fall land, and then just, like, shark him, like, traditionally. Because you're like, he's almost a fast faller. He's not quite, but, like, you can kind of, like, up-throw him. Because he's heavy, the up-throw stuff is kind of flimsy, but what you do is you just cover him being in place or falling into you with back air or up-being with your, like, sword disjoint. And then if he jumps out, because that's his only, like, relevant tool, like, this to me is perfect. So, like, you see how you're, like, doing your, like, you're landing and then naring back away, like, you're contesting his hitboxes really effectively. I haven't really seen him be able to, like, bear effectively until you start committing to the movement. Like, when he's up here, I don't know why we're not ever swinging with aerials. Do you see what I mean? Like, we have an entire opportunity to harass this top platform. We can full hop, we can, like, swing with a single fair. Like, we can challenge him and contest him with our disjoint, but it's just not happening.
I feel like the reason I'm not is kind of a reason similar to what I have here against Jigglypuff. I have this note here. I don't know if I'm still sharing screen or not, but
I can tune in. Yep, I can see.
Yeah,
it.
just real quick. It's so, like, here I have a note that I haven't written out formally yet, but, like, I want to contest Jigglypuff more on the platforms because I feel like there are some puffs who will circle camp me, right? And they play on the platforms, jump away, whatever, but they don't come back to center. But the problem is when I try and get close to them from too far away, it's almost like a tell for them to drop down and hit me. And while it's true, like, frame data wise, if I'm a robot, Marth can disjoint fair and beat everything, right, for the most part. But I don't think that's how it turns out a lot of the time. So the note that I have here is that it makes more sense for me if I'm far away here. It's still the goal where I don't think they're going to hit me and, like, play a little passively and, like, dash dance kind of, am I going to go in? Am I going to go out? They don't really know. But once I get close, then I can start pressuring the platform for real. But I'm not going to just be here, oh, they're on the platform, that's the cue, go hit them, right? And I think similarly to this DK example, my thought is I'm scared of shield drop back air here because I'm on the left side of him. If I was on the side where he's facing me, different story. But I think as I'm jumping up, his back air is pretty quick. My forward air is also pretty quick, but again...
You don't have to fair, though. You could also do up airs. You could short hop up air here. Like, very easy like this.
Yep. I think the other reason why I've been conditioned to not up air as much in this set is I have tried a couple up throws where, like, I'll get a bunch of up airs and I'll juggle him super hard, and then all of a sudden it's, like, really hard with DK down air. I think on the top platform, That's definitely true. That like it's not as easy as like a double jump down air, a falling back air, like it would be like I'm juggling him straight up. I think it's a lot less likely for a top platform like Dreamland. But I think, I don't know. I get worried about this, and I'm not able to quite put it into words. I think there's nothing wrong with trying to juggle DK. It just feels like it goes wrong a lot of the time. Does that make sense?
That's okay.
And that's kind of my explanation for why.
Fair enough. And I think that the distinction I would say here is it's a matter of time. The difference between like the positions you showed me with Jigglypuff and the position here we have with Donkey Kong is just a function of time. Like his back air hits over here, right? Like probably further out because it's huge. Like it hits like here, but like, and it's a foot, so we'll make it a foot. But like at the end of the day, because it hits out over here, you actually, for that reason, I think the up airs are probably better because the up airs like cover him from falling down, and they set up like they set up a situation where the context is that like he can't, even with his back air being here, he has to basically move to a side and get like diagonal with you. So like if Marth is here like doing his up air and it swings in like this arc, like from here up here, because it like starts in front and it's bigger behind him, so like kind of like this. He has to like basically get on to, like for him to be able to beat that from where he is, he has to be able to fall like this. And then if he's falling like that, then this is where your fair suddenly becomes really good, because you can like see him doing that and change gears, or you can fast fall, or you can try to like dash this way and get onto this side of him, because if you get onto that side at that point, then you're like totally fine, because then you just turn around and grab him. So I would say the big thing, that the problem with just doing the dash dance is there's no threat for this entire zone. Like from here all the way up to here, there's nothing influencing his combat.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
That's the missing piece. So you're right about like the risk reward not being good in some of these spots, but the point is that if we never represent our sword against these characters, they never have to fear us. And that is a problem, because at the end of the day, it doesn't take much for somebody to outposition Marth's dash dance. Like, as powerful as Marth's dash dance is, it's at the end of the day, it's all implicit threat. It's all like, maybe this thing could happen. But none of those are hitboxes, so none of those are like, there is something that is happening. Like, none of it is concretely tells them, you cannot go here.
So, okay, do you mind playing this back when he lands? Because I think I pretty much do the run through here, right? Like, obviously I'm not threatening the up air much.
Sure.
Like, at all. But like I'm doing the answer. Am I just slow on it, or why'd this go wrong?
Simple.
Because
it's exactly what you said. So because he knows that you're not going to swing, he doesn't come down with an attack, I don't think.
Yeah, no.
Oh no, he does come down with a back air. So
but what do I do? Is what I'm just curious.
So you come down like easy. Okay, yeah, you're just slow.
Yeah.
Like you needed to yeah, you needed to turn around, like you need to be grabbing like here.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
But yeah, like you can see, like I think that part of why you're slow is because you're not really like, you're not sure where he's going to fall exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Yeah, like there's no way for you to know, because you haven't given him a reason to like go anywhere. Like, yeah, you have to crouch in order to, like, you have to crouch in order to like dodge this basically. And I think that's really the problem, because you're like, well, actually, you don't even need to. Like,
no, I don't think I do.
This is
me letting go.
This is just slowness, but I think that like this still kind of like, imagine if we had just like thrown out some up airs or like fairs or something, right? We just hit him on his way down because our moves win. I feel like this grab is a secondary threat that we're playing towards after the sharking has gone through. Because it's like if they get past the first line of defense, which is the sword, then we have the grab and like evasion on the ground as like the backup plan. Yep. So, yeah. This one was
that makes sense.
This was just an execution thing. Like but
that's totally fair, yeah. But it's like, even so, like it still makes it harder for him, which I'm all for.
Well, like we didn't have to play, like I feel like the dash dance grab there is the harder play to have success on. because we're still like, even if we like get that grab, even if we start the grab at the right time, again, like his back air is a big move. We have to get on the right side of him. After we like, and in the process of doing that, he still has a side, like a spot dodge that's invincible, or like a roll that's invincible on like 4. He still has his up B, which is invincible on startup as well. Like, he has counterplay to like to a close quarters grab. We didn't have to give him any access to any of that.
Right. Okay. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. For what it's worth, Donkey Kong is bullshit. Especially versus Marth.
I know. I know.
But I am glad we got to look at that a little bit. And I'm glad to see that you are using your sword more than I thought you were, and more than I gave you credit for. Because but I do think that, like, we need to just have a looser definition of, like, you just need to give yourself, like, take the like, restraints off. I don't know how you go about doing that, but one thing I might say is, try to go into your next match, like whether it's ranked or whatever, and condense your points to mention, like the things you go over, to just like a couple general pointers that you can use to like form a game plan out of, instead of like a whole detailed thing. I think that will do a lot for you.
So okay, I'll give you some insight. So like what I have told myself last time I played, I have all these crazy notes, right? But my only points that I'm considering is right here. I'm thinking of, okay, don't deal with Puff in the corner here, because he's just gonna go up off stage. Mix him up if he's walling me, and I think that's it. I think that's literally the only, maybe this one, because it's just like combo. But those are the only things I'm really considering. Otherwise, it's like pretty reactive for the most part. Like I have all these. I like writing the notes because I'm like putting my feelings of Melee into words and like its knowledge, but there is just no shot I have even enough time to read all this stuff, right?
Sure.
Like it's 3 notes. So what does that mean for you? Like condense it, or is that what basically?
No. So no, this is a different problem. So I'm glad that we've brought this up. So what are your notes again? You said like don't go somewhere, and what else?
Yeah, it's like don't fight Puff in the corner. There's like no reason to.
It's like
this is how I can.
That's a very broad generalization, and I don't always agree with that, but sure. Like, what's the next one?
Yeah. Here, what do I have? I didn't read that one. Dealing with Puff Crouch, I basically just have used down tilt on Crouch more. Which is like, I'm not grabbing Crouch as much, I'm just poking him now. And this one is combos, dash attack into Nair. So like if I do, I don't know why I have it written there.
Yeah, I did not see.
I think it's Nair into dash attack.
Okay, Nair into dash attack. Cool.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, I would instead. So the problem with these is that these are very restrictive and prescriptive, like rules of a matchup. So what I would look for instead is, look for game states that you want.
Like the screenshots, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like
that makes sense.
Yeah, like look for game states that you want. So like one of the ones that, like, if we use the Donkey Kong one for example, Donkey Kong, like what we can derive from this one is that Donkey Kong doesn't really have a whole lot when he's above us. So like we want to look for ways of putting like when Donkey Kong is above us, we want to be like kind of aggressive with our sharking. We want to force him to commit so we can pressure him hard, and force him to make a mistake so we can kill him. So I would say that like pressure, like he doesn't have, like, I would focus more on the character's attributes and what that means in terms of what we can do. So it's similar to the first note, which is like not fighting her in the corner, but instead of it being something that we don't do, I would focus it more on something that we do.
Yeah, well, I think that's what I have, right? Like it's
no. Don't scrap in the corner is not a note on what we do. That is something that we don't do. So the way that,
here's an example, like this one is don't do it, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I know not to do it, like whatever, but this is like almost the exact same thing I have, which is like not fighting Puff in the corner. This is what I say, this is what I normally do, I don't like it. This is an example of like Jigglypuff, this is what you should do, right? So is that not the same, or is it like
so what I would do is I would just turn it into a positive. Instead of don't fight her in the corner, I would say place more emphasis on controlling center stage.
Okay. No, I think that's fair. It's like positive reinforcement versus negative.
Yeah, because the wonderful thing about like what not to do, like the wonderful thing about like the well, not wonderful. The problem with like making rules of what not to do is that it doesn't tell you what to do. It just tells you what not to do. So I think
That's
that
fair. Yeah.
I think that explains a lot of why you're retreating when you're like you've got Faust in the corner and he's like dead to rights, but you're backing up. You don't have to like your note is probably steering you towards backing up, but like there's no reason for you to do that. This is one of the fringe cases, like sometimes it's the fringe case where it actually is worthwhile and quite profitable to fight in the corner. But you're not really able to recognize that. Whereas like as if we focus it more on like focus on center stage control, it can be like, well, keeping him pinned here is a form of center stage control. But
yeah, no, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of gives you a way to look at it, more in terms of what Marth's goals are, and I think this will help you a lot with
yeah, I think so.
With pushing your damage, because yeah, like that's really what it is. It's all about you.
No, I think that's totally fair. I think that makes sense.
Nice. So, what I'm gonna stop the recording and I'm gonna let you go. But I'm glad we could do this. I hope this was productive. And
yeah, it was for sure.
Okay, if you don't just say that, I can't take criticism.
Like, I know we've like argued, quote unquote, but I'm not so much like disagreeing. I'm just trying to like, what's the word? Like, push an idea. Does that make sense? Like, or challenge you on it. Because I'm like, this is my understanding, and I can understand this, but I don't see the value in it over something like this. But I think at the end of it, I've come to a good conclusion on it. Like, I think
good.
Because like I've been thinking just as we're talking, like different ways for like, okay, well, if I want to stand my ground, like why am I not doing that right now? Why am I telling myself not to? And I'm like, well, there's other spots where like I am doing it, because I have older notes here where I don't even know. It's probably not even in these notes. It's probably in my old Discord that I had. But like I would have like, if I'm, let's see if I can pull it quick. If I'm shielding against Jigglypuff, like I know I should be, it's probably really old, yeah. I know that right here. I know that like if I'm playing against her under shield, like, and this is to be fair in the corner, but like I know if I down tilt her here, it's the same spot. Like I can nair in this spot and it's gonna work. And this is like the same accomplishment as like holding my ground if I down tilt her here. Like I can drift back on that nair a little bit if I need to space it. But the point being, like, it's gonna put on that same pressure. So I think that's fine. Like I don't have an issue with it. And like if I do this down tilt on her shield here, I am at risk of getting grabbed, sure, but I don't always have to dash back every time out of it. I can stay in that position to do it. And I think that's the conclusion I've gotten out of this, which is good. Yeah. I think like that's a mix-up that I've been missing. So I mean, I'm happy with that takeaway, but I'm not. I don't know. I think that what I'm trying to say is like I don't mind like pushing you on it either, because like I need to understand it.
Well, you're a good player. I'm a good player. Like at the end of the day, we're both good players who've like accomplished our own things, and I think it's okay. It's healthy for us to have disagreements as long as we argue them respectfully. And yeah, we've had that here. Another way that you can kind of think about it is, you know how undershooting, overshooting, and whiff punishing work together to form like that triangle, right? Mm-hmm. So Marth, and when Marth is in positions where his undershooting beats the opposing character is like undershoots. Like he beats their like tools basically. The opponent has to like whiff punish basically in order for them to like play around it, right? Like they can't just like overshoot into him because they'll run into the wall. And they have to whiff punish. So when you're like in the position like the one in the diagram, with the Donkey Kong, as long as you time your like the only whiff punish he really has from like that from that spot above you, assuming you time your up air correctly, is to try to like fall on you like slightly differently, like delay his like descent from the platform, or to use his double jump. But you can very easily frame trap that by just simply like doing a really really tight up air into like another action, right? So the only whiff punish that he has that directly contests your position is extremely beatable with even like a teensy bit of planning. So this is why this position is strong. This is why he dominates advantage state. This is why he's like one of the best characters in the game. So my recommendation would be like try to think about like more ways you can use that, because I think that once you understand that like when somebody's above Marth, the only way that they really can play around him is by falling differently or by using their double jump or both. It becomes really easy to plan around their like them doing those things.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, that's what that was my takeaway for like homework on this one was like.
Okay, cool. So you already figured this out. You already got to the conclusion.
I wouldn't say that, but like I'm trying to think of like, okay, if I'm in that position, like how can I scrap with Puff in that spot if I'm going to do that? Like what are the good moves for that? Or like if I'm have Jigglypuff on the platform here and I want to like instead of go in wherever it is down here, if I want instead of going down here and I want to just hold this place because I think they're gonna back air, like what's good for that? And like for me, I know already just because I played this range a lot anyway, is okay, I'm gonna do like a fair here. I could rip an F smash early, or I could dash back grab or whatever. But I don't think I have this much for like close up situations, and I think that's worth exploring a little bit. Like I think it'd be interesting to think of that for Fox, because I feel like I'm in that space for Fox a lot.
So,
but I don't want to be.
So the key thing with the Jigglypuff on the side platform versus the Donkey Kong example is that Jigglypuff is able to hit you at the top of your jump, whereas the Donkey Kong is not. But to your point about applying this to Fox in general, yes, Fox is really good for applying this because this is how you beat that character. Because the way that because with Fox, if he's in the same spot that the Jigglypuff is in, he can't actually reach you unless you move into his zone, because you have more lateral range than him. So, in order for him to be able to hit you, he has to move. He has to either move forward or move around your hitbox, and then hit you after, or you have to come forward. So that's the difference. So like it is a function of range as well. My husband is telling me that he wants to eat, so I do have to go. But I will leave you with that, and I can't wait to see what you cook up with this. So best of luck, and good luck at Gommel, okay?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll talk soon. I'll shoot you a message after this.
Sounds good. Later, Mar.
Peace.